Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council in regular session. It is Monday, May 1st, 2023, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Reed.
Here.
Councilor Hussman.
Here.
Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Starr.
Here.
Councilor Duran.
Here.
Councilor Cross.
Here.
And Youth Councilor Sarmiento.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you are able, I invite you to rise and all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. We have several items tonight under our special orders of business, and tonight we're going to lead off with the proclamation for the Asian Pacific Islander community. Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is for the month of May. I'll sign this. And I also want to note that one of our distinguished young women did a beautiful Native Hawaiian dance as her talent, and it was just fantastic to watch. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Asian and Pacific Islander community members have made significant contributions to the culture, economy, and heritage of Keizer, and whereas Asian and Pacific Islander encompasses all of the Asian continent and Pacific Islands and is comprised of many nations and cultures, each with a unique identity and rich heritage encompassing approximately 50 ethnic groups speaking over 100 languages. And whereas Eastern Asia includes, and this is going to take a while, but I want to be very inclusive here of all the countries and cultures, China, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Macau, Mongolia, Paracel Islands, and Taiwan. Southeastern Asia includes Brunei, Myanmar or Burma, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. South Central Asia includes Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And Western Asia includes Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Bahrain, Cyprus, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates and Yemen. And whereas the Pacific Islands include Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. And whereas the month of May was designated in order to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese to the United States on May 7th, 1843, and to mark the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad on May 10th, 1869, in which the majority of the workers who laid the tracks were Chinese immigrants. And whereas the Federal Asian Pacific American Council has declared the theme for 2023 observance to be Advancing Leaders Through Opportunity, which inspires us to continue to seek to provide opportunities through innovation, critical thinking, and strategic leadership that build great communities. Now, therefore, I, Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Keizer, together with the Keizer City Council assembled in regular session, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders Heritage Month, and ask all the people of Keizer to join together in paying tribute to the generations of Asians and Pacific Islanders who have enriched America's history and are instrumental in our future success. So for the Asian and Pacific Islander Community Proclamation for 2023. The second special order of business is for recognizing Jewish American Heritage Month, and the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Jewish American Heritage Month celebrates the contributions Jewish Americans have made since 23 immigrants from Brazil first arrived in New Amsterdam in 1654 in search of better opportunities and made America their new home, finding in it a place where they could openly practice their faith and lead their lives freely without fear of persecution. And whereas on April 20th, 2006, President George W. Bush proclaimed that May would be Jewish American Heritage Month. And whereas despite facing persecution and racism through millennia, the Jewish American community did not give up and has come through each time, and if it were not for them considering America their home and dedicating their achievements to this country, American culture, faith, commerce, and governance would have missed out on their tremendous and ongoing contributions to our society. And whereas, as a religious and cultural minority in the United States, the contributions and experiences of Jewish Americans have been omitted from our country's national narrative, largely due to ignorance and anti-Semitism and history of violence against them. And whereas the people of Keizer desire to fully and authentically celebrate and honor the influence and impact of Jewish Americans on our community and American society, now therefore I, Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Keizer, together with the Keizer City Council assembled in regular session, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Jewish American Heritage Month, and ask all the people of Keizer to join together in paying honor and respect to Jewish Americans for their tremendous achievements and contributions. Jewish American Heritage Month. Okay, these are both signed and will be on display, and watch for posts and further information, and encourage all of you to again post and share as we commemorate and recognize both Heritage Months. It is now my honor to welcome Fatima Falcon up here to introduce this year's class of 2024 distinguished young women.
Hello all, city councilors, city staff. Thank you guys so much for having us here today. It is an honor to be in my second year chairing this event that has reached its 50th anniversary this year. It was wonderful this Saturday to see all of these girls accomplish amazing feats, each on their own. I was just so proud of them. And that's why I'm really happy that Mayor Kathy Clark had the honor to present the winning Keizer Distinguished Young Woman Award at the end of the showcase. It was really magical, and I loved every single second of it. Despite the stress, it is what makes my heart happy. And I'm really proud to represent the city of Keizer and this program and now these girls. So I also wanted to mention that in honor of the SBA's National Small Business Week, the program wouldn't have been possible without all the sponsors that we had, including the Keizer Chambers Network of Women, Citizen Betty Hart, the Keizer Times, Arrow's Home Air, Advantage Holdings, the Keizer Homegrown Theater, the Keizer Cultural Center. We had so many sponsors. And the Keizer History Museum helped us out with the presentation that we gave on the 50th anniversary. I don't know if I mentioned Advantage Holdings already, but you can see it was a team effort to have all of these scholarships rounded up for all of these distinguished young women. So I want to thank all the small businesses, all the community members that make this happen, because without Keizer support, this wouldn't be possible. But now I'd like to introduce you to the participants of last night, because I think it's better to hear from their own words what is it that they did and what is it that they accomplished.
We will raise the microphone, then each one can come up and introduce herself. And there we go. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Betsy Macedonio. For my talent that I did yesterday, I recited an original poem that I wrote about having the role as an older sister, and for my college is yet undecided because I have many options that I want to look into more to know what the perfect fit for me is, but I do know that I want to continue my studies to study environmental science. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Hi, my name is Dayanara Salvador. I want to go to Willamette University to go into study law to become a civil rights lawyer. My talent on Saturday was a baile folclórico, Mexican folkloric dance.
And what awards did you win?
Oh, I won the most spirited award as well as the what was it called? The fitness and runner up for Distinguished Young Woman of Keizer. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Adrian Durkin. The school I want to go to is U of O to study law. And the talent I performed was me playing my instrument clarinet.
Hi, my name's Siosi Utatu. I performed a traditional Hawaiian dance for my talent. The school I want to go to is Brigham Young University, Idaho, to study nursing, and I won the Scholastics Award.
Hi, my name is Madison Leitz. I want to go to Oregon State University to study communications and journalism. And my talent that I performed was an original poem. And I am the new Distinguished Young Woman of Keizer representative for the class of 2024.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kylie Jarnigan, and I am currently the Distinguished Young Woman of Oregon. Next year, I plan on attending Willamette University to study theater. And this summer, I will be leaving June 13th to head to nationals over in Alabama, and I will be performing If You Hadn't But You Did from Two on the Aisle.
And for those of you that don't know, the only national representative from Oregon that we've had from Keizer was back in 2002. And since then, there hasn't been someone from Keizer representing Oregon at the national level until Kylie arrived last year. So that's all the Distinguished Young Women of Keizer for this year. And thank you guys so much for having us here today.
If we may get a photo with, of all you together, that would be fantastic. And I would know that Councilor Kohler is always good at getting us all lined up.
We can definitely line up right here and take a picture.
Would you? Yes, that would be fantastic.
Run.
Yeah. Walk carefully, you know, we want to maintain our safety awards. And we can stand behind. There we go. So. I'm not gonna be
So graceful.
I love it.
I think so, yeah. Do you want us in? Or
Yes,
not?
yes,
Okay.
yes. That's why they're up here.
Okay. Well, okay.
I know, if you can't see me, I can't see you, right?
Ready? Think camera right now. Okay, please camera us now. Okay, Keizer thanks camera.
Always one more. Keizer's Distinguished Young Women. And thank you to Fatima and her team for continuing this amazing program that is now in its 50th year, and incredible women leaders that are coming from this program. Well done. Thank you. All right, let us know, and we'll be thinking good thoughts as Kylie heads off to nationals. So this is the program from the event. It was fantastic to be there, to hear the poems, the music, the spoken expression from these very talented, very just smart and capable young women. And we have one last special order of business, and as for our city manager. to make a special introduction.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I wanted to introduce our special guest the City of Keizer is hosting for the 3 more weeks. They've been here 1 week, but in the audience we have Sophorn Meng from Cambodia, and she is a wastewater and water engineer. And then also Jade Castro from the Philippines, and she's a recycling product engineer. They're here under the Young Southeast Asia Leadership Initiative Professional Fellows Program. So they're working professionals that have come to spend time with our environmental staff and some co-learning from both sides. And it's great to have them. They bring a wonderful energy and spirit to the team and the crew.
Well, thank you and welcome. And thank you for choosing Keizer for your fellowship. I hope that we're able to give to you as much as I know that you'll be able to give to our staff and our community. So thank you. So that will take us now to committee reports, and I have one signed up, and that is Jamie Davis for Traffic Safety Bike Ped.
How is everyone?
Fantastic.
All right. Well, I just wanted to come and give a bit of an update that we've had at the committee. It's been doing a lot. Yeah, 'cause Councilor Husband, he knows that too. The committee purpose, we did a review of it and wanted to make some adjustments to it, really kind of capturing the verbiage on newer technology, electric bikes and stuff like that, which we got approval from the whole committee to send it over to legal for review. I hope that you've received a copy of that. I don't know. If not, we can get that.
We have not yet.
I'll have Debbie email it over to the committee so that you can see it as well too, the council, I'm sorry. Second thing I wanted to really bring up was concerned citizens around the roundabout. I'm getting an increase of concerned citizens on this area. I know that Rick and Kate Brady came in and to our April meeting to ask for consideration of a speed display device. There are speed display devices now, but they're a little further back than what they're thinking they need to be. And that possibly, if not just that, but also maybe lowering the speed. They're having a hard time pulling out of from those houses right around the roundabout. And I only see that we're probably going to get more concerned citizens around this area. The backup, if you think about the roundabout on Keizer Road, that can get a little dangerous as well around that. Another thing is, I do know that Chariots is monitoring it, but I do feel like it's in a standstill right now until the condos are built. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that this is a safety concern. I know that Bill Lawyer spoke with the Brady family, and they have put rocks in front of their house, but I guess another car has still gone through. So it's just a little bit concerning for them, and they wanted to see if they can get any help. At this point, I'm not sure what else to do, but besides for come here and get a little bit of assistance in seeing what we can do in efforts to have this looked at a little bit more.
Pause for a question. Is that the house that had a number of vehicles end up upside down and those really large rocks have gone in,
Yes.
but there's only a few? I thought there was going to be more of them there. So it's on Verda as you're making that turn? On Chamawa, okay. It's on Chamawa before you get to the roundabout. So it's pretty far back from the roundabout. That one's on a curve, and there's been people hitting that curve.
And even on the other side has gone through, so possibly another rock, if at all, maybe you could go into there, just because of the way that this vehicle crossed through their whole
Again? That took
Yeah.
some doing.
It did. It did.
Wow.
And I mean, and that's why I think the cause for lowering the speed around the roundabout, this is really a conductor that's only going to get more use as we grow. So I just really want to make sure and press this one, and I'll definitely keep bringing it up as we hear more concerned citizens.
Chief, did you have a comment on that? Mr. Brown, I know Mr. Lawyer's not here tonight. I know he's worked with that family on the placement of some of the large rocks, but that project didn't look complete. Maybe I was wrong, because I drive by there rather frequently. So can you follow up on that, the status of that project with that homeowner?
I will do that, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to steal the limelight for my second one, but the shoreline flashing sign has received really good feedback, and I'll have the West Keizer Neighborhood Association give a little bit more detail tonight for that. Another consideration for council is the committee unanimously passed and asked that I bring this to council for consideration, which is a recommendation of a pedestrian crossing with a flashing beacon on Lock Haven where the McNary baseball cages are at. This is an area that's frequently ran across, and we'd like to see, we actually at our meeting said exactly where the placement should be, and I do believe Public Works agreed with that area, but I do think that it needs to be taken to the next step.
Okay.
Sorry, City Manager Brown.
You knew this was coming.
Yeah. And then just on a positive note, the committee discussed the 40th birthday celebration, and we have volunteered to man the booth on Saturday, June 17th. And we'll be distributing safety materials that were provided by ODOT, and Hirsch will be grabbing those materials for us so that we can be there. And that is all that I have. I feel like I have this aching, they were telling me something, but it was a 3-hour meeting. Yeah, I overpacked the agenda. Do you remember, Council Husman?
I might. Excuse me, everybody. Is that about the crosswalk flag program?
No, I'm not ready to bring that to here yet.
Understood, and that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. I can't think of, but it was a long meeting, so if I have to.
We covered a lot of bases, it's true.
We did, and that was my fault. I guess the biggest thing to explain to everybody is the Neighborhood Transportation Management Program. We've been working on it for about 6, 7, 8 months now, and it finally went to our committee for review and questions, and will be coming to May for us to make a approval to move forward on it. And I think the next step is either here or to have Public Works look at it. It was very old and outdated and just really needed to be looked through and kind of sorted out between what is the neighborhood neighborhood areas versus an arterial, and then there's also like River Road, which we didn't want to really have any details on that one because the city will do the bigger areas. We're really mainly focusing on the neighborhoods. So I think we've accomplished that in this write-up, and we've had Public Works help us out, which we really appreciate. And then I think the next step is getting the committee to approve it. But the whole committee has spent a lot of time on it, and I'm really proud of everything that they've done. That's just an FYI. We'll get to you if there's more to bring to you. That's all I have.
So I have a question on that neighborhood traffic management. That was a document I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And I've been doing transportation policy since 2006. So
Oh, wow.
that was a real surprise to me. It's cool. I think it's wonderful. And so that tells you how old that document, if it predates me.
Well, I think it was 2009 that it was written.
The date I saw was
Possibly.
2004.
Four, you're right. That one's 2004. You're
Yeah.
correct.
So
I think that
20 years old.
if, as chair right now, what I'm really trying to do is guide and get the community involved and the neighborhood associations involved so that there's more in numbers. And I do think that they're starting to see my ways, and that, and more people coming up and talking to us, we can bring that to council and have real good numbers. But Sergeant Leday, I want to give him a shout out as well too, because he really brings the data for us that we need when we ask for it, so that we can really just monitor the safety of our communities.
So did it come up at the meeting about taking this to the neighbor associations for comment? And did anybody mention maybe taking it to the Community Diversity Engagement Committee to engage for comment?
No, not that one, not the latter, but we definitely have West Keizer Neighborhood Association that actually filled one out this past year and was able to give us really good data on what worked and what didn't work. So I was really happy with that information. But again, I think not only just it's power in numbers, but also any concerned citizen could fill that information out as well too. So we just wanted to make sure that it was very clear on what was their job and what is our job to submit.
So that's just a thought about how you might engage with the ECEDC and other neighbor associations. And I will leave it to the collective wisdom of the committee to determine those next steps as well. So if that makes sense to you. Councilor Hessman, do you comment?
Madam Mayor, with the unanimous recommendation from the TSBP committee on that crosswalk at Lock Haven and Celtic Way, I'm curious as to how to proceed from there. And Mr. Brown, if I could call upon you as well for that, just what would the next steps be?
Yeah, Madam Mayor and Council Hussman, we haven't had an engineering study on it, or have we?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so I think
Not
that's
yet.
probably what would happen next is it would go to Mr. Lawyer, who would take it to the transportation engineers for an analysis.
Okay. Who do you want to submit that in writing? I would imagine Mr. Lawyer would prefer to see an email on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can pass it on to him if it's something that came out of the committee. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And I just wanted to echo one thing that Hirsch Sangster said in the meeting last time, which Jamie, thanks again. Meetings are always a fun time. I'm learning a lot. I think everybody else is too. But one comment that Hirsch made does ring in my mind, and I'm paraphrasing here because I could never exactly quote his words, but he said that speed is an issue in all areas of Keizer. It's not a southeast, it's not a major arterial issue. It's just about every road where somebody has a car and a whim.
It really is.
They're willing to speed upon. And I don't necessarily believe this is a failure on public safety at all. I just believe this is the condition that we're in for the time, because we see some national studies, statewide studies that have shown increased rates of speed in car travel throughout any type of street, highway, neighborhood, major arterial. So the committee, I think, is doing phenomenal work in considering the individuals who are outside of cars, who are walking, rolling, biking, or wanting to do any of those three. And at the same time, I appreciate the top of mind consideration towards speed, because it is something that this community is dealing with in all phases. And frankly, we should be mindful. I don't necessarily know that I personally have as council liaison to the TSBP, and I hope that my fellow councilors hear what the committee has been talking about as well, because it's beginning to be in every meeting lament, and we don't necessarily want it to be. We want everybody to feel empowered that speed is not going to kill every desire for improvement and every desire to access their community in the way that they want to.
Just to follow up on what he's saying is that SCATs, I'm sorry. It's the one that everyone, I get those two so confused, but everyone from our citizens could go and take pictures and show areas of concern. So we did our best to kind of push that out so that we can get that raw data back as well too, because that will help us with any grants that we may possibly find in the next few years.
And just so folks know, Tammy Coons is representing us on that Transportation Safety Committee. So,
Yeah.
and she is here tonight as well. So really happy to have great representation on that SCATS
Okay.
committee.
Hopefully I didn't mess up their talk either. Sorry,
you-
West
So she's,
Neighborhood Association.
nope, it's all good. And thank you for promoting people engaging in that survey, those surveys.
Yeah, thank
Really
you.
appreciate that. All right, any other questions? Awesome, thank you much. Always good to see you. All right. That is the committee reports I have for this evening. Were there any other city committees here to report tonight? Okay, that takes us to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have no public hearing scheduled for this evening, and I will go to Rhonda Rich to talk about West Keizer neighborhood.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Rhonda Rich, and I'm here as president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association, and I'm here to give you some input on the flashing signs on Shoreline Drive. And I did a little write-up on it, and I can give Tracy a copy if you'd like to read it later. But I'm just going to go ahead and read it so I don't miss anything. So the background is the issue of speeding on Shoreline Drive was identified through an extensive outreach program conducted by the West Keizer Neighborhood Association in January and February of last year. It was 1 year ago this April that the WICNA started the process through the Public Works Department after testifying at many traffic bikeway safety committee meetings to address speeding on Shoreline Drive. After the completion of traffic studies and testimony at the September 6th City Council meeting by the WICNA members, the council agreed by consensus that they supported the purchase and placement of portable speed monitoring flashing signs on Shoreline Drive. The council asked that the WICNA monitor the effectiveness of the improvements. Thus, I'm here. So the new speed flashing signs were installed at the beginning of this year. As a follow-up to the City Council's request, the WICNA Board of Directors decided to carry out a door-to-door flyer program to request input on the effectiveness of the speed signs. On April 8th, myself, Carolyn Holman, and Carol Phipps talked to residents on Shoreline and distributed a letter asking for their input. So if they answered the door, we talked to them briefly, and if they didn't, we just left a flyer in a door hanger. So residents of 35 houses located north of Raffel Street North and south of Chamawa Road were contacted. The summary 35 houses on Shoreline Drive were included in the door-to-door survey. 11 residents were home and able to give verbal comments. 2 residents responded by email. And I'll give you some of those comments here in a minute. An article in the March 2023 newsletter was sent out to all members asking for input on the flashing speed sign. 1 comment was received by email, and I have that comment in here too. Members were invited to the April 13th West Keizer Neighborhood Association general meeting to give their input. 22 members attended the meeting. 2 members expressed their opinion that the signs were effective. General consensus was that the signs are effective in slowing speeds and making drivers more aware of the residential speed limit of 25 miles an hour. So in conclusion, after receiving comments from the residents on Shoreline Drive and the consensus at the general meeting, the WICNA concludes that the flashing speed signs are effective in reducing speeds on Shoreline Drive and potentially on the intersecting streets in the neighborhood. We request that the signs remain in place as a permanent traffic calming device. And I'll just go over a few of the comments here. And they're somewhat paraphrased because some people will talk 5 or 10 minutes and got to summarize it a little bit. What an absolute treasure to have them on Shoreline Drive, especially with the kids walking to coming school and having to cross Shoreline. I know the WICNA has been advocating for some sort of traffic control devices for quite some time, and the city finally came through. That was by email. I appreciate the traffic concerns on Shoreline Drive North as drivers are always speeding on this street. I have always felt stop signs should be placed on Shoreline Drive and Dearborn going north and south. The traffic speeding alerts are helpful, but don't feel they deter speeding very much. Those are the two by email. Then one helps a lot, helps but needs stop sign. One, please keep them. Do not put up a stop sign. I'm afraid of cars backed up in front of my driveway, and this was just south of where we were talking about putting a stop sign. I need to catch the kids speeding at night. The next comment, yes, they help out a lot. Another comment, keep them. They do help slow down speeding. Another comment, yes, keep them. One, I really do love them. Please keep them. And this was the fellow who lives across the street from the south sign. Thinks the signs have helped slow traffic, but would like to see police presence to reinforce it. He thinks people slow but then speed up. Also sees it as a reminder for drivers who tend to obey speed limits. Speeders are going to speed. Positive about the effort to slow traffic. Effective, but people still not slowing down. Have police out more. Haven't seen them in a few months. Motorcycle cops have been there, seen drivers going as fast as 55.
Thank you.
Okay. Walks children to school every day. 6 out of 10 people may slow down at night, pass the sign, then speed back up. So it was positive, and again, appreciate you putting in the efforts and making this happen. And so, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for the ongoing involvement to help bring this, the solution to the neighborhood that you and I both live in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
And now we have Judy Leichte from the Keizer Community Food Bank. How do you pronounce your last name? Thank you, Leichte.
Good evening. I just came from distribution tonight, and I can't remember who asked me to come in and give an update on what we're doing, but thank you, Mira Clark, for inviting me. My update is, since food stamps got pulled back as of March 1st, we have gone from serving 60 families per opening to 90. And the amount of food that we get from Food Share has slightly gone down. So we are having to stretch what we have. Before March, we had 6 pallets in storage. Now we have 0 pallets. Tonight, we served almost 80 families, and our record was 112 last month. I'm just trying to, I'm so kind of fried at the moment. Any questions at this point? Because, yeah.
Councilor Husband?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you so much for the update on this. What do you need? Where do you need it?
Well, what's really nice is that the community has stepped up, and we've got volunteers coming out our ears now, which is good. What we need actually is, more funds, even though we do have a healthy bank account. Right now, I'm spending about $2,000 a week just for food. And that's just replacing stuff for, like peanut butter, tuna fish, mac and cheese, pasta. I'm having to buy soup. I mean, just pantry items. Tonight we didn't even have enough meat in the freezer. All we could do was hand out 1 item of meat per family, and we ran out. So it's just been, where a year ago we could give them a huge shopping cart full of stuff. Tonight it was like 1 box of items, and that was basically about it.
Thank you for that. And what's the situation with the Marion Polk Food Share and their donations or your arrangement with them?
And, from what they had told us last month is that the amount of stuff that we will be getting is about the same as in prior years. And for us, that worked well, before, a couple months ago when we can consistently serve 60 families and have a good, run through of food. But now that we're serving basically 50% more and having the same amount or even less food, we've run through it pretty dang fast. So yeah, my big thing is, community support by bringing in food. We've had, community brought in 2,000 pounds this past month, which is nice. But I would like to see actually even more.
And because this is a television program and we may have folks at home interested in donating, exactly, where specifically can they go to drop off food or money?
Okay, so the food bank, we are located at Faith Lutheran Church, 4505 River Road. We are across the street from Arby's. That's how you can find us.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you very much. Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify as well on behalf of the Marion Polk Food Share, I did have lunch with the CEO, Rick Galpo, on Monday, and they're facing a general overall food shortage as well. So I just want to clarify that it's not they're cutting back on what they're handing out. They just have a shortage of food for themselves, which means they have to moderate what they're distributing so they have enough to last.
And we're not the only food bank that has seen an increase. Almost all the food banks across the Marion Polk food share system have seen an equal increase.
Councilor Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also just wanted to mention the food barrels that that the neighborhood associations are manning around town at Copper Creek Mercantile, at Bimart, and various places around town. They also accept donations, so that opportunity is there as well. So
yeah, and one other thing I need to also mention: we have recently created a website. So we are KeizerCommunityFoodBank.org. It's still in, we're still creating content for it, but we've got the basics on there. So I encourage people to go visit our website and gather information about us from there.
Councilor Reed, follow up?
Do you have a listing of the food barrels on that website?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so that's another place that people can go to figure out what there are, because I think there's also one at the Rec and several places around town.
Yeah,
Tony's.
Yep.
Always remember
oh yeah,
Tony's.
Tony's, Uptown. Yeah, fire department has one.
And the Elks?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Last month, there was a request for shopping bags.
Yes.
How's that gone?
The community has given us plenty of bags, but we still need more. Every opening, we use at least 300 to 400 bags. So the need is there. Also boxes. We could use, trying to think about the right size boxes. Mac and, about 15 by 12 by 12 or something. I can't remember the sizes, but, enough for somebody who can just carry a box. We're always running short on these things.
All right, very helpful. Thank you so much for updating us. Thank you to all the volunteers who are helping take care of our neighbors.
Yes.
Appreciate that very much.
I appreciate the community support.
Thank you very much, and congrats on the website.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we're good.
All right.
Thank you. And that is everyone I have signed up for public testimony this evening. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council tonight? Okay. And that will then take us to administrative action. Our first item on the agenda tonight is the community center fee waiver for the Keizer Chamber of Commerce, the Keizer Network of Women Percy event. Ms. Davis.
Council members. The Keizer Chamber of Commerce, the Keizer Network of Women, has requested a fee waiver for use of the Community Center Ballroom for the Percy event, which is on May 25th. The event is open to the public and tickets are available for purchase. This event is a fundraiser to support the No Holiday Giving Basket program. The total rental fees for the community center are $3,950 plus the $1,500 refundable security deposit. We anticipate staffing to set the room, cover the preparation and event time, and clean and reset to be approximately $650. Then there's also additional $200 for alcohol security. The council has the ability to reduce or waive rates, deposits, or other costs. And the council can consider either approving a full waiver of the rental fees and the security deposit, only the waiver of the fees, or just charge staffing costs. So staffing costs are $650. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report or the proposal? Looking. Councilor Kohler?
Ms. Davis, can you tell us what we did last year? It was the last time they used this facility for this
Yes,
event?
I was going to say the event was not held here last year, and I believe they did pay for it. It may have been pre-COVID, but I believe they did pay for it. We've not had a request to waive for this event previously.
Okay. Any other questions? Council President Starr?
I move the City Council approve the requested waiver of the community center rental fee and refundable security deposit, but charge for staffing and outside security in the amount of $850 for the 2023 Keizer Chamber of Commerce, Keizer Network of Women Percy event.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council approve the requested waiver of the community center rental fee and refundable security deposit, but charge for staffing and outside security in the amount of $850 for the 2023 Keizer Chamber of Commerce, Keizer Network of Women Percy event. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Looking forward to serving a lot of our neighbors the holiday season through this event. Thank you so much. Item 8B is a resolution amending City of Keizer City Council Rules of Procedure, amending Resolution R 2022-3269. I believe this goes to Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This item was discussed at the April 17th meeting, the last time you met, where 3 council members directed staff to bring this to discussion during the council meeting. The council discussed it and directed staff to prepare a resolution that would require council liaison to be in attendance in person versus virtually. So a resolution has been prepared by the city attorney and is for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions on the staff report? Council President Starr?
I move that the council adopt Resolution R 2023, amending City of Keizer City Council Rules of Procedure, amending Resolution R 2022-3269.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, amending City of Keizer City Council Rules of Procedure, amending Resolution R 2022-3269. Discussion. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We did discuss this in depth last time, but I am against this motion primarily because it just takes away, it puts up barriers to city council options. And while it is undoubtedly better to be in person, I think that these kinds of barriers are barriers to service of people who might be considering service on the city council.
Thank you. Other discussion? I'm gonna go to Councilor Husband.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Johnson, to what extent, with regard to the Americans with Disabilities Act, might a measure of this nature open the city up to any liability?
Well, I don't know. I haven't looked at that question. I had some time before the meeting. I could maybe look at it a little closer. And we'd have to determine what the nature of the disability was. So I'm not certain what that would be.
Okay, thank you so much. I understand on the vagaries, but I echo Councilor Reed's sentiments. I feel this is an exclusive measure and not an inclusive one. And if we're looking at what it is that we should be trying to do with the city council, we should be trying to include as many prospective counselors, prospective involved citizens as possible. And as much as in-person attendance can be beneficial for the particulars of one's job, goodness knows I should know all the times I've been in person for meetings as a relatively new counselor. I am sympathetic to the argument that life can get in the way and best laid plans can go astray. So therefore, I will not be supporting this measure.
Thank you. Our youth counselor would like to weigh in, if that's right with you all. Youth Counselor Sarmiento.
Well, it's not a comment, it's more of a question. What consequences would someone face if they were unable to attend the meeting in person? I mean, since it is a requirement, but...
We do not have consequences other than if there are violations of rules. The council does have the ability to take corrective action, to look at whether counselors are acting within the scope of their office. And at the very worst case, which has only been done once to my knowledge, is censure. But that was a very extreme case of a violation that was committed by a former city councilor. So it is extremely rare and under very, very difficult circumstances.
And I have another question. Are there absolutely no exceptions to this? Or?
Not that I'm seeing as written.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson?
Back to the first question. I don't believe it's directly applicable in this situation, council liaisons, but I believe there's a rule generally in the resolutions for committees about attending, I believe it's 75% of the meetings. So there would be an indirect, if council wanted to, use that as an example. Like I said, I'm not sure that directly applies to liaisons, but, there is a rule about attending. So if you weren't able to attend, because you weren't able to physically get there, then at some point you might be removed from the committee. And I think that was what the mayor was raising.
Which can happen now.
Correct, which could happen now.
So we've had counselors in the past that have not been able to make meetings or for whatever reason, life circumstances, and I've worked with that counselor to either make a change in the assignment or to find alternatives. So that's been something in the discretion between the city counselor or counselors and myself, and then done reassignment. So that's been the practice up until now. And it would continue to be the practice because ultimately it is the mayor's position that makes the assignments for liaisons and for voting members, depending on the committee.
Madam Mayor.
I had one from Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This was more of a clarification. If I was reading this right, you still could get a substitute, right, for the meeting? And that still counted as attendance?
It's just that Well, it doesn't talk about substitutes.
I thought it did, or maybe it's on the next one.
No, the additional language reads, council member liaisons are required to attend in person unless all members are meeting electronically as provided in section 18.14. This subsection only applies to liaison positions and does not apply to councilors appointed as voting members. And to your point about getting substitutes, that has been the practice for if one cannot attend, one puts out an all call saying, I can't attend, can somebody swap in? And that is not in here, but that has been a past practice, and I think that is important to commemorate, that that has been a practice and one that has been expected when you can't make a meeting, is to alert everybody else. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Just in answer to Youth Councilor Sarmiento's question about exceptions, there are some limited exceptions for council meetings. If 2/3 of the council can vote, if they deem it is important enough to allow a council member to vote virtually, that's for council meetings. And then for boards and commissions, they can agree to hold the meeting virtually or electronically if they do so as a whole. But it really wasn't clear that if for any type of a designation for the liaison.
The current language does not allow an exception for this issue, which was the direction of council at the motion for council liaisons.
So I'm just making note to myself. So that was a point well taken, that the past practice has been for if someone is liaison to a committee, can't make it, to put out the all call, saying, I can't make the meeting, can somebody sub in? Because having a council person present is important for keeping connected with the business of all of the committees and commissions. That's why we have city liaisons, council liaisons to the committees on which they are not already voting members. We have committees such as the Community Diversity Engagement Committee and the Keizer Public Arts Commission, where the councilors are voting members. So we're not talking about that here, that's different. So on the liaisons, we're talking parks, traffic safety, bike ped. What else is liaison at this point?
VCC.
Volunteer Coordinating Committee, planning, so that's 4, and I'm sure there's some others that I'm missing from my brain. So the past practice has been put out the email, I can't make it, can somebody swap in? So that might be something that we need to put in here, because we do have that, that has been a past practice to make sure somebody gets there. Mr. Johnson.
There is a indirect reference to that in the rules, but not maybe direct. It does say non-liaison voting council positions may not be substituted by another council member. So the implication is, and we have, like you said, the practice. So that probably should be put in there to make it clear, but typically a liaison does substitute, and that's what we've done.
That's been the past practice. So I think that making sure it's clear in the rule that there is the expectation that if you can't make it, you do notify, and the rest of the team, so somebody can swap in. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify too. So if I was asked to sub on a committee that was the council representative is a voting member, I would just turn into a liaison with that committee. So if I sat in on, because I wouldn't be in a position to be able to vote on anything, not having,
so,
or would I indeed vote in that kind of situation?
Councilor Reed, you wouldn't be able to appear. So if, and I'm trying to think, CDE. So we have voting members of council on that. You can't substitute. So you can't show up for somebody and not vote. You can't show up at all. If you're a liaison, like for planning commission Kyle says, can you substitute somebody for me? And then you can substitute there that as a liaison position, but you cannot substitute a non-liaison voting position.
Okay, thank you. And I believe most of those voting positions, we have a couple of counselors on there.
2 on.
Arts, we only have one.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you. C to C, both of you. Budget is all of us, so we definitely can't swap. And Long Range Planning Task Force is all of us. That's a task force, so that's different. That doesn't vote. So I'm trying to think of any others that we have voting members. I think the rest of them are all liaisons. So on the, if a city councilor cannot attend, that I would like to add an additional step for that individual to contact the city recorder and council to attempt to find a substitute with as much advance notice as possible. So if you know you're going on vacation, and we've all done this, I'm gonna be gone, can somebody swap in for? I've had to work late, can somebody swap in for? I've done both. It's been past practice, and it's to get somebody there, because the goal is to get a counselor in that seat for that meeting. That's the goal. So I would like to do a friendly amendment that
We
says,
can't have a friendly amendment.
We have-
when we have.
I thought we had the motion on the table. Do we have the motion on the table yet, Tracy?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Yeah, the motion's on the table.
Made by Counselor Starr and seconded by Counselor Kohler.
Can't even remember 5 minutes ago.
So, back to what I was about to say, a friendly amendment to add language that said, if a council member liaison cannot attend a meeting, they shall contact the city recorder and council to help to find a substitute. That's a friendly amendment. Would that be acceptable to the mover?
Yes, given that it's past practice.
To the second?
Part of my question with the way that you worded that is that I've always just called another counselor and asked them to switch. I haven't called city recorder or send it out to everybody. I've just done that. So would that keep me from doing that in the future?
Yes, because if we're going to make this a requirement, that person is, anyway, we can debate this, but I've asked for you have to approve it before we can debate it.
Okay.
Okay. To your question, yes, because if we're putting this into rule and a council member liaison is not present and we don't have it recorded that they have done their due diligence to get a substitute, we're not going to be able to have the record, and there might be confusion in the minutes or in future conversations about whether someone was following through as a council liaison. So we've got it, if we're going to do this, it's got to be in the record. And that means an email or a text, preferably, well, actually, it has to be an email to the city recorder and the council to get it into the record. Councilor Kohler?
Mayor Clark, thank you. So if Kyle wasn't going to be able to be at planning and I wasn't going to be able to be at parks, and I called Kyle and said, Kyle, can we switch this month, those two liaison assignments? Would he be able to say, yeah, okay? And you're saying that then we would need to let Tracy know that switch had been made? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying. So we would have notice. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
asked for
I believe the mayor's position is at least partially correct with regard to having it on the record. For expediency purposes, you could have that record be with the city recorder's office and attempted, so I had some other language if that would work. If a council member liaison cannot attend a meeting, they shall contact the city recorder's office and attempt to arrange a substitute counselor to appear.
What he said.
Okay.
You good? So what Shannon said, I like that. The mover says,
Yes.
the second says,
Affirmative.
all right. So motion has been amended to include.
what it is.
We know what it is.
Would you like me to read it again?
Yes, please.
Tracy would.
If a council member liaison cannot attend a meeting, they shall contact the city recorder's office and attempt to arrange a substitute counselor to appear.
Because sometimes, and I like the word attempt, because there have been times where there's nobody. We'll all look at our calendars and we're all busy, or it's one of those convergence of the stars nights, which is when there's like 10 events in town, there's only 7 of us. So that's why I really appreciate the word attempt.
So again, my question is, can I continue to do what I'm doing if Councilor Cross is willing to substitute at the, you're not willing to go to the Latino Action Committee, but then once that's done, I need to notify someone.
Yes, the city recorder's office. Yeah. And if you're swapping, then I would include the other counselor in that, just for confirmation.
Okay.
We've got to account for life. Life happens.
But the expectation is that we attend our committees in person. I just want to make that clear. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
I'm sorry to belabor this, but Councilor Kohler brought up a good idea just as practicality. He would be attempting to find a substitute first and then alerting the city recorder, which makes the most sense. So I'll swap those phrases if I can, so that the order is if the city council member liaison cannot attend the meeting, they shall attempt to arrange a substitute to appear and alert the city recorder's office. So reversing those two phrases, because that's the order in which they would occur under Councilor Kohler, which makes sense.
And sometimes it's the all call. I just got called in a meeting. I can't make it. So it'd be all at the same time. I've had to do that.
Because that does occur.
Yeah, I've done that, where, well, I have to attend this work meeting, or I've got to take care of a family issue, and can somebody swap in for me tonight? Because I love you all, but some things take precedent.
Just
Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just again to reiterate, I think that the purpose of this addition is to make sure that we all understand how important it is to attend as liaisons so that those committees have representation there. And whatever we need to do to make that happen, I think that's what we need to do.
And I think by and large, that's what we all signed on for.
It's just 3 meetings a month. That's what I was told.
Whoever told you that lied. Just 3 meetings a month and other duties as assigned. Yeah. Okay, anything further? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no.
No?
Motion passes 5-2 with the noes being Husband and Reed. Okay.
Thank you for not making me read that again.
You're welcome. That takes us to item 8C, which is City Council Rules of Procedure, age requirement interpretation, appointment to Volunteer Coordinating Committee. This goes to
Over here.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This issue came up at the last meeting with regard to interpreting the council rules of procedure with regard to committee members being less than 18 years of age. And it was raised when Councilor Hussman appointed Emerson Corella to the Volunteer Coordinating Committee. Mr. Corella is 17 years of age. The mayor requested at that meeting I give direction with regard to whether that appointment could happen based on the age. I don't like making calls that I'm not certain of, so you may remember last meeting I said I'm going to have to look at that because I simply couldn't recall exactly what the rules said on that. I wasn't going to try to look it up real quick. As an aside, the mayor asked me for my interpretation of that, but the council interprets their own rules, so I can only advise. So, but you folks are interpreting, and that's why you can see, and I sent out an email to explain this also, that there's 2 agenda items here tonight. So this first agenda item on this is simply for the council to interpret the existing rules. I had suggested when asked that perhaps a clarification is in order because it's unclear. But at the time Councilor Hussman made the appointment, he made the appointment. It doesn't have to be approved by council under these circumstances. And so the question for council at this agenda item is simply how you want and how you think is the appropriate way under the current rules to interpret that. As you can see in the staff report, I made reference to the youth counselor position, youth liaison positions, and one could infer from that that other regular positions maybe should not be youths. That would be an okay interpretation. However, the way I read it, especially considering the counselor makes the appointment on their own, since there isn't a prohibition, I think the counselor can appoint who they wish. May or may not be wise to appoint somebody at a certain age, but that's the purview of the counselor. So in terms of my opinion, I think the rules would allow that. But you folks are free as council to interpret the rules as you see fit. The proposed motion follows what my advice is. If you choose to do it differently, you need to change that motion. Changing anything in the next agenda item would not affect this. Once appointment is made, it's valid. So any future rule change wouldn't, because at the time the appointment was made, it would be valid if you choose to interpret it as I had advised. So sorry to make it so confusing, but I wanted to make sure first that you understand that you folks interpret the rules, I only advise, and that the appointment was made at that time. It is either correct or not. So you need to make that decision first, and that's why I had it as 2 separate agenda items. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm not sure. Okay, thank you very much. Questions on the staff report and the issue at hand? Councilor President Starr, you've got a question. I got that.
So it's 8:20 and my simple brain needs to clarify. The first motion is essentially on whether we how we interpret the rules.
Correct.
So my question is, on this motion that's in the staff report, if we vote no on the first issue, on the first agenda item, if we vote no on the proposed motion that you have, that would state that we interpret the rules to be 18 and over for committee members.
If I could jump in.
Please do.
Save me. If a majority of the council feel that the rules should be interpreted to not allow a member to be under 18, you need to change the motion. Don't vote no on the motion.
Don't vote, okay, change the motion.
If you see what I'm getting at.
Okay, then
Yeah, that's why I indicated
Got
just a minute ago, the proposed motion, I had to put in a proposed motion. So the proposed motion follows what my advice would be on it, but you don't have to take my advice. You know, some people don't, that's okay. So, and so if you feel that the inference by the language of youth liaisons already being in there trumpets the fact that there is no rule in terms of the actual age, then your motion would be to change that motion to, and I think it'd be real simple, to not allow committee members.
I have a draft of one.
Yeah, I think you just need to add the word not in there. It would probably be appropriate, if that's how the majority of the council feels.
Okay. I think I got it.
Does that kind of clarify?
As mud. But yes.
If I may, Madam Mayor?
Please.
I do want to make sure you folks understand, you are to be interpreting this not the way you think the rules should read. Okay, that's the next agenda item. This is, how do you feel the rules as written should be interpreted? And so I'm not expressing a policy question at all. I mean, I can tell you, personally, I think maybe you need a clarification on this age thing. But right now, the rules don't have that. And so you need to be objective about this and look not to what you think you want to vote on in the next agenda item, but simply how do the rules read now?
Okay, so basically, if one believes that the current rules of procedure indicate that committee members should be 18 years of age or older unless specified in a resolution, then that's one approach. If you believe that the council rules of procedures as they are written at this time allow for committee members under the age of 18, regardless of whether it is written in resolution, that's the other approach.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's the non-lawyer. I was stating back to make sure that what I heard, so I was reflecting to make sure I got it right. Okay, so are we clear on what we're going to be discussing? Okay.
Maybe.
We'll see.
We are taking bio break this time, so let's be done before then. All right, Council President Starr, put a motion on the table and then we will work on it.
We'll see if I get this. I move that the council interprets the current council rules of procedure to not allow committee members to be less than 18 years of age unless, except where specified by resolution or ordinance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council interpret the current rules of procedure to not allow committee members to be less than 18 years of age unless specified in resolution or ordinance.
Yep.
Okay. Discussion. Councilor Reed.
I don't think that that is what it says. And so I think it is a matter of interpretation. I would go with Mr. Johnson's assessment that it is not clear enough to interpret it that way. So I will be voting with what I see as the council policies and procedures as they stand.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. If the rules didn't talk about youth liaison members, then I would agree with what Councilor Reed has said. But since it does specifically talk about youth liaison members, I would interpret it the way that the motion was presented.
Okay. Further discussion?
I agree with Councilor Kohler.
Councilor Duran?
I agree with Councilor Kohler.
We better write that down.
It's on video.
This one
Councilor
time.
Husband?
I suppose, Madam Mayor, that I'm the one that got us into this, so I may be the one to get us out, as unlikely as that may be. But my interpretation of the voting rules was that independent of rules governing youth liaisons or youth counselors as well, I could make the appointment how I saw fit, and I saw fit to appoint an individual whom I think is a great candidate for the VCC.
Thank you. So this is something that the city attorney and I have spent a fair amount of time debating back and forth. From one of the reasons I could reflect back was because that's where I've been in this this space of, yes, our rules talk about youth in the roles of liaisons, because that was how it always been referred to. And yet it was silent on whether or not a youth under the age of 18 could be a voting member, and we do have a precedent for doing that, but we had to do that in the resolution because it wasn't stated. It was, it had to be written in when we were establishing the Community Diversity Engagement Committee to specify that we would have a youth that could be voting, because that was not the case on any other committee. So this is where I've been wrestling with it. But given that last piece, that in the CEDC, we had to actually make an exception, that means the implication was, or the assumption was, that there was a rule in place or an understanding that that had been the past practice up until that point and had to be specified to change that. So I've really wrestled with this because, Councilor Husband, I agree that your appointee is an extraordinary individual that shows incredible talent, insight, and capability. But where I'm going to have to come down on this is going to be agreeing that the implication has been, and the past practice has been, unless otherwise specified, that youth are not voting. So I feel really badly about that because I think Emerson is extraordinary.
A light rebuttal, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead, this is debate.
This is debate. Your CDEC example is understandable with regard to specifying that a youth be a voting member. I would argue that the formation of the CDEC necessitated the codification of that voting privilege on the basis of an understanding, not necessarily on the basis of something inherent to council rule and procedure, which I believe Mr. Johnson has effectively stated as the ultimate gray area here that we are processing. While I understand the notion of the idea of codifying the CDEC because it's a brand new committee, you're looking to bring on an individual representing the younger generation, the sub-18, not necessarily a legal adult. You want to ensure that all boxes are checked with respect to them being able to vote. The council in the past has not explicitly stated that going forward. I am sympathetic to the basis of an understanding. I do agree with Mr. Johnson in that the hardline interpretation is that it was just that, an understanding and not settled rule.
Thank you. We also have to recognize that we do have committees where it's statutory, and we did not specify in those versus the ones that are not statutory, that the voting members, in the case of, was it budget or planning, that they have to be electors? I think it's budget.
Just budget.
Right.
And it's indirect. Of course, it's not an age limit. You have to be an elector. An elector has to be 18.
Right, so that, and then in planning, I think it also has to be an adult.
No, there's no restriction.
On state level?
No.
Okay. I think that was how I had interpreted it in the past. Further discussion? Councilor Sarmiento.
If you were to pass this motion, or what would be the other version of it? Sorry. If
What
you
would
were to
happen?
deny the motion, sorry. Would there be an exception created for this person to be a part of the committee, or?
I think I can answer that. I voted, I appointed him, right? And I said so in a public meeting, which is per our bylaws. So that would put him over the finish line, I believe. Please, Mr. Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Not as stated, this was a not. The
Right,
motion on
so
the table
as the-
is to not allow.
As the motion is stated, if the motion failed, my suggestion would be to put another motion on the table. But why don't we just see how this motion goes first?
Okay. Does that answer your question? Kind of, maybe?
In a way, yeah.
In a way. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed signify by saying no.
No?
No.
Motion passes 5-2. The noes are Hussman and Reed. Anything further on this one?
So do we have to, now we go to the next one, right?
Now we got to go to the next one. And that is item D, which is City Council Rules of Procedure, age requirements. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As it indicated a few moments ago, we have a separate agenda item with regard to clarification, which obviously I think folks can agree is probably necessary. I have no specific advice on this other than I would suggest that it be clarified. I don't think you should not take any action at all. And the question for the audience is whether or not there should be change to the procedures to make it clear to everyone about any age requirements for committee members. Right now, we don't have any direct age requirements, as we've already discussed. I list a few options in the staff report for council consideration. Well, before I get into that, I will note for the audience that I checked in with a few cities. Lake Oswego allows two voting youths on some committees. Ashland allows one voting high school student on committees. Medford has no age limit for committee members. Salem also has no age limit except for committees that make quasi-judicial decisions like the Planning Commission. So there's some examples there. So some of the alternatives I listed is to have no age restriction, to have require all committee members, and again, we're talking about voting committee members, not liaisons, to be at least 18 years of age at the date of appointment, allow one or two members of the committee to be 16 to 18 years of age on the date of appointment, and then consider whether or not you want to apply whatever the policy is to all or some of the committees if you want to make a distinction for some of the committees, for example. And any other alternatives you would like to determine. As I indicated, I have no recommendation on this issue other than to clarify it. The recommendation is for council to discuss this matter and direct staff on bringing an amendment back to clarify the issue.
Okay. So there are two issues to consider. One is for the ages for voting members of committees. And the other that I actually brought up and asked to be also considered is if we want any age range, thank you, I was looking for the word, for our youth liaisons. Currently we have a requirement for our youth city councilor. We have an age requirement of, it's a minimum of 16. And so we do have that, and then for the others, we do not have anything written down. So those are the two areas where if we want to put ranges in, this is a time to have that conversation. Okay? I'll put a motion on the table, and then we can debate it.
I move that council direct staff to prepare an amendment to the council rules of procedure as follows. City committee and commission members be age 18 and over, except where specified by resolution or ordinance. I further move that youth liaisons be between the ages of 15 to 17, except where specified by resolution or ordinance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council direct staff to prepare an amendment to the council rules of procedures as follows. What you got?
Do you want me to read it right here?
Thank you.
There you go.
For a city committee and commission members to be age 18 and over, except where specified by resolution or ordinance, and further move that the youth liaisons be between the ages of 15 and 17, except where specified by resolution or ordinance.
Okay.
15 to 18?
15 to 17, because 18 can be voting.
Okay. Yeah, but if there's still a student liaison, I'm sorry, I'll debate.
Oh, but there you go. That would be a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Friendly amendment?
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to change that 17 to 18, since there are lots of students who are still 18, especially as they complete their senior years.
The youth liaison age range,
Yes,
15 to
yes,
18? Yes, I'll accept that friendly amendment.
As do I.
Okay. So the motion stands made and amended. Discussion. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the the examples that you cited where they had students as voting members have a really vibrant youth council program, and I would eventually like to see us get there in figuring we could change the rules as necessary as we build a program like that, but we are not there now. And so I am more comfortable with the motion as it is.
Thank you. Councilor Osman, thoughts? You don't, we'll circle around.
Collecting my thoughts, but I'm fortunate in that I've worked with high schoolers for a number of different years and on a different side of the world, being a media member and approaching schools through that lens. They can be really observant and really intelligent and really immature sometimes and really mature in the best of times. Some of them can really rise to the moment. And so when I see these opportunities, and again, I think that when we're making appointments, when we're filling out these committees, when the volunteer coordinating committee is taking care to look at what may be a representative landscape, we can tell. We know who's passionate, we know who's committed, and we know who's able to perform the work to the best of their ability. And what I see of that sub-18 set is especially 17 and 16, which it seems like we've agreed upon. There's a bit of a floor here, and that's totally fine by me. I think there are plenty of 16 and 17-year-olds in this community that can perform high-level, comprehensive, and very thoughtful work in these committee settings. And I believe, frankly, they can bring a lot of attention to things that a fuddy-duddy like me is not necessarily aware of. I certainly know that I miss things because I'm not as in touch with some of the ways that young people are gathering information today and expressing ideas and sharing ideas and opinions around. They see things in a very admirable and valuable perspective. What I never want to see the city of Keizer do from my pulpit, and I hope I've expressed this sufficiently, is for us to stretch the volunteerism part of the pride, spirit, volunteerism phrase to its absolute breaking point. We want people to be able to come as they are, and we're not necessarily meeting them totally at the moment with the city, but they're meeting us at their moment, where they feel like they can contribute, even if it's one small part, even if it's as a voting member. So I am really reticent to say yes to this type of motion because I do believe it discourages some very motivated individuals from expressing positive ideas that may just impact our community and maybe show us a trick or two that we didn't necessarily know about otherwise. I think that some of these kids can really humble us in a couple of different ways. That was certainly my experience in working with the high school set, and that's what carries me to express such a belief in this opinion, or in this motion here. I think that the right individuals in the right committees have a lot to teach us and can carry themselves with maturity intact.
Thank you. Do you have a comment, Councilor Kohler?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Remember, I've been involved in Boy Scouts for 50 plus years. And while, pardon me?
You started as a child?
I did, yes.
Just want to clarify. While I
agree there are rare exceptions to the rule, I very vividly recall seeing a bumper sticker once that said, "Hire the teenager, they'll never know again as much as they know now." In saying that, what I mean is that there are times that a young person really thinks they have the answers to everything that's going on, but yet they don't have the experience to really put all those things together in a way that can truly be beneficial. And that's why I very much like the youth counselors that we have. We get input from them, but sometimes the input doesn't really apply the way that we need it to apply, but other times it's great input. So I think that we get the best of both worlds that way.
Councilor Cross.
Okay, get ready for this. I agree with Councilor Kohler again. As a huge volunteer in this community, there is a place for rules and procedures and policies, and I believe this is one. I think that there are 14-year-olds that have to act like 20, lots of them that I work with in the foster care system. And there's also 30-year-olds that act like the 16. So I agree with Councilor Kohler.
She is writing it down.
I am writing it down.
She actually did write down, yeah. Thank you. Councilor Duran.
I
see the wheels
too
turning.
agree with Councilor Kohler for the second time tonight.
Okay. Thoughts, Council President Starr? No, go to Mr. Johnson.
I made the motion, so I stand by the motion.
Okay.
With the friendly amendment.
Yes. I would like to go to the city attorney, then I'll come to youth counselor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just clarification of the motion. That was for youth liaisons, maybe 15 to 18. There was a reference to the youth counselor. And in the actual rules, there's not anything about an age. It says, to receive the appointment, candidates must be Keizer residents who are either attending high school or registered homeschool students. So I wasn't sure whether you wanted
It's on the page for youth counselor, for people who are applying for that position. It says they need to be 16 or 17, they're implying the sophomore or junior year. So they can serve their junior or senior year. So that's where the ages are on our webpage. That's where I found it.
Is there any objection by council? I don't think we need to change that. If that's the general understanding, since we're making a change in the rules anyway, we should put that in the rules. Put it in the webpage
Is that in the rules for youth counselor?
No, that's what my point is that when you had mentioned that, it clicked with me, like, I don't remember seeing that. So it's not literally in the council rules.
No, it's in the resolution establishing the youth counselor position. That's where that comes from, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Well, I will check
I could
on
be
that.
wrong.
When we bring this
It's been known to
amendment back,
happen.
we'll confirm that.
And then
Since it's not a separate committee, I wasn't sure how that was created. It wasn't created like a committee would be created, so.
Because the youth counselor position was created, I thought, by resolution. And then that's where we put in the requirements for the age at which we believe that the high school students would be the best prepared to be able to serve for a full year. That's why we're looking at sophomores and juniors, knowing that they are applying to serve during either their junior or senior year. And we want to make sure that we have students that were, at that stage of their education. That's why we did not consider, when we established the youth counselor position, freshmen. We wanted to make sure that we had juniors or seniors serving in this position, and that's.
I'll check on that.
Okay,
when
and then
I
with the
bring this back.
CEDC, it simply was a high school student, high school age student. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, but
Sorry, Councilor Husband. Sorry.
Madam Mayor, may I propose a friendly amendment?
Yeah.
For the youth counselor position to be between the specified ages of 15 and 18.
I don't accept.
I don't, if I may, Madam Mayor, I don't know that we need to make that change. If the mayor is correct, then
It's a separate.
it's a separate issue, it's a
Yeah.
resolution. I just didn't remember the resolution, so.
Yeah. So we'll have to look back and see if that is, confirm if it is in the resolution that established this position and the parameters for it. Because that, I believe, is where the recorder's office got the information to put the application online, was the parameters that we were given, that we provided for that particular position. And then the CEDC position was established by resolution. So that also would not be affected here because the motion states unless otherwise specified by resolution or ordinance. Now I'm going to go to, may I go to Youth Counselor Sarmiento?
Sorry, another clarifying question. So this motion only makes the youth liaison positions 15 to 18. That's the age requirement, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
For all committees and commissions.
So with Counselor Hausman's argument, which I do agree that the youth of this community is capable of a lot, as I am, 16.
No argument.
But with that argument, were you trying to push this motion to also include youth liaisons as voting members on committees, or no?
This would be the age for which we would like youth to apply for being liaisons to all the committees and commissions. The goal has been to have a liaison to every committee and commission that we have. And then we also have the goal of always having a youth counselor. There was a number of years that seat was empty, and it drove us crazy until we got an inside person to start recruiting.
Well, I do agree with the motion then, that the age should be 15 to 18. It's a good age where high school students get more involved in the community, but they get their own mind. They know what they are capable of and what they can contribute to the community. That is it.
Thank you. Did I skip that? Councilor Reed and then Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, two things now. First of all, just to clarify so everybody's clear on this, liaison means that they have a voice on the committees and that they, as Youth Councilor Sarmiento has been doing, weigh in on whatever issues, so we have that voice. They just don't vote. And so just to be clear on that, that's what the youth liaison, council liaisons, that's what liaison means, is the voice is heard, but they don't have voting rights on that. So just to be clear on that. The other thing I wanted to clarify was the youth appointee to the CDEC. That is a 3-year term. So it could very possibly be that they age out of youth if they get on that committee as a senior or junior. Then by the time they're 3 years out, they're young adult. And we, as the establishment of that committee, we're okay with that because that newly graduated voice was also needed to be heard and that continuity was important. Mm-hmm. So just to be clear on that, so we may have a point in time where we have a 20-year-old youth liaison, youth voting member on the Community Diversity and Engagement Group. So just wanted to clarify that little piece too.
Absolutely right. That's how it was established. So we would have one person for that entire 3 years, hopefully, unless they graduated and left, and then that position would be refilled due to a resignation. But the intent was to have someone who hopefully could serve for the full 3 years, just like all the other positions, because that continuity of conversation is so important. And that was established in the resolution. Mm-hmm. So again, this does not impact that. The exception is if we establish something in resolution, that preempts. But in general, this would be the guideline. Does that help? Mm-hmm. Okay, Councilor Cross.
Just a quick question. This is actually for Police Chief Teague. What is the police cadet program age range?
It's like 14 and older.
Really? So there's 8th graders?
Well, it was mirrored after the, might have to help me out, Councilor Kohler. Explorer program, there you go.
At the fire district?
No, at Boy Scouts.
Oh, that Explorer.
Decades ago.
Okay.
Right.
So that one's, they can apply at the age of 14?
I think it's 14. It's young.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. But again, they have limited authority to do very much.
They don't have any authority.
Thank you for saying that. They got none.
That is a good thing.
Yeah. The limit is 0. So okay. Any further discussion? Councilor Husband, final word.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I bring up the points that I brought up to say that I do believe that a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old can exercise sufficient authority to make a vote in clear conscience. I do believe that they can have some sense of agency within the community, and that's why I would frankly like to see 16 and 17-year-olds as voting members. I believe they can do it.
Thank you. Youth Counselor.
So with your argument, Counselor Houseman, do you believe that I, as a youth counselor, should be able to vote in the council? Sorry, just to clarify.
It'd be cool if you could. Unfortunately, I did not prepare to establish rules for the overall council procedure such that the youth counselor could be a voting member. I'd have no problem with the youth counselor as a voting member. That's a change that I cannot make unilaterally, but I would certainly welcome the conversation.
It's in the charter. So it's about being an elector. So this goes back to budget and to city council. You have to be an elector, which means you have to be old enough to vote, and that's 18. And register. It helps to register to vote too. But the point is that you have to be an elector. So that means are qualified to be able to vote. So that's the limitation there. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no.
No.
Motion passes 6-1, has been a no. Thank you for a very lively and substantive conversation. Do we want to take a break now, or do you want to take it after this next one? Preference?
That didn't work so well last time.
Okay, we'll keep going then. All right, item E, which is leash ordinance discussion. This goes to
Me, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Brown.
Madam Mayor and Council, this discussion is in front of you as a follow-up to the council work session in November of 2022, when you had a workshop that talked about responsible dog ownership. There wasn't a clear direction after that meeting, but there was some direction to bring it back for discussion at some point. So after a few reminders by the council members, it's back in front of you for discussion. The part for discussion is, should a leash be required for dogs as they're out in the community? Right now, our leash ordinance only specifies that dogs have to be on leash in a city park. So persons can walk a dog to the park off leash. Once they get to the park, they're required to put the dog on leash. And when they leave the park, they can take it off leash and walk it home. In my research, and it is not ever as comprehensive as I would like it to be, but we are kind of a rare exception in that that's how our statutes are written. The only one I found that was actually written the exact same way was the city of Salem. And I don't know if that's coincidence or not, but the other cities that I was able to look at, and again, I would have liked to look at a lot more, but I tried to look at ones that are near us and near us in population, and none of them allowed dogs to be off leash, or what some might call at large, whenever they're in the city limits. So that's kind of the synopsis of the short survey I did. And I think were it to look at more local governments, I'd probably find the same thing, that most required dogs to be on leash at all times. So there are alternatives here are to direct staff to require dogs to be on leash at all times unless they're behind a physical or wireless fence on their own property, or at city-approved dog parks. Or if you take no action today, it will remain as it is now, where dogs can be at large unless they are at city parks. This is a policy direction that has to be done by city council.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for the references that were included in the packet and the links to follow up. That was really helpful reading. Any questions on the staff report before we possibly debate a motion? Questions on what we've got before us? All right, Council President Starr, put something on the table, we can have another lively discussion.
I move that the council direct staff to prepare an ordinance requiring dogs to be on leash at all times in which they are not on their own property and behind a physical or wireless fence, or when they are at city-approved dog parks.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council direct staff to prepare an ordinance requiring dogs to be on leash at all times in which they are not on their own property and behind a physical or wireless fence, or when they are at city-approved dog parks. Discussion, and I have a question. School property, does this apply to school-owned properties, Mr. Johnson? Shannon?
Yeah, I'm looking at the motion.
All right.
Yes, because it says not on their own property. So,
Okay.
when Mr. Brown and I discussed this, we felt it was appropriate, rather than trying to come back with language when we weren't sure of the council's direction, just to leave it up to you, and then Mr. Brown and I can look at the language based on your motion. But the way it reads right now, it would appear to me it means not on their property, so leased or owned property. And even then, they have to be contained, so.
So on school property, that is owned by another government, and we have no jurisdiction there.
Well, again, it would depend on the final language of the ordinance, but I think the references says must be on a leash at all times in which they are not on their own property. So the school district property is not my property. If I go and let my dog off leash on that property, I think the school district could complain and ask us to enforce our own ordinance. And I don't know if that's your intent or not.
I just don't want to get into a jurisdictional conflict with, another government agency. Chief?
Well, the way I would read that, to enforce it, it doesn't matter to me whether the school district or any property owner is involved in this whatsoever. This person has a dog off lead and it's not on their property, and that's all I need. School district's out of it.
Okay.
The other way to look at it, but it would be contrary to the actual language of the motion, is to only on public property, right of way, et cetera. That would be restricting it quite a bit from what the current language is. And I would agree with Chief Teague on what he just indicated.
So then my other question is not on own property, but if they're on another person's private property with their permission to be off leash, that is also sufficient? Because this is not their own property.
I would anticipate that would be the way I would suggest writing it, yeah. We'll fill in the details based generally on your input, unless you want to go over those tonight.
Well, I think we need to give input on, things that we're concerned about, and that's one that I'm concerned about, is that if it's a private property with the permission of the owner, that dog can have at it. But they need to be behind a physical or wireless fence, even on that other person's property, so they stay there and not run out in the street and attack my dog, like has happened. Because that was a special moment. Moments. All right, so input or comments, discussion on the proposed ordinance. Councilor Reed, I saw you lean in.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I find it very unfortunate that this is, out of a city of 40,000 people, this came up because of a handful of miscreants, shall we say. And, I live near Clear Lake Elementary School and see those dogs running around all the time, and they are perfectly responsibly looked after. And it's a situation where owners know whether or not their dog can be trusted off leash, and then the flip side of that is that some of the more egregious stories that we've heard have been in parks where they are already required to be on leash and aren't. So I find it very disconcerting that this has come up at all, that people can't just behave themselves in a public sort of setting. However, I do see the necessity of giving our police a tool to be able to use to say, hey, you're out of line, here is a citation based on this city ordinance, and so I do see the value in that, and I appreciate that in the staff report it did mention that it's not that the police are going to devote 24/7 their efforts to chasing down owners and dogs who aren't on leashes, and so that this would be more used in practical terms as a tool for police to use when necessary for extreme cases. But again, I see plenty of responsible dogs and dog owners running free in the Clear Lake fields, and I would really be sad to see that go.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing.
Follow up?
Yes. And then the service dogs exception that we see, we heard about that at the work session, and then we also see that in Salem's ordinance. I think that would be an important thing to include, because as service dogs are being trained, they often, and we heard that in testimony at the work session, that they needed that flexibility. So I would like to see that exception in any kind of ordinance.
Right, and then to reference people, and then I'll go to Council President Starr. The Salem ordinance reads, working dogs, including but not limited to guide dogs and service dogs recognized as such by state law, so long as the dog is wearing a locating device and is within near vicinity of the person in control of the dog. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just to add on, clarify what Councilor Reed said about the service dog training, I think it's really critical that we clarify that it's by an accredited service dog training program, because I could train my dog, say I'm training a service dog, but it needs to be under the guidance and supervision of an accredited service dog training program and accredited by the ADI. It's a service dog thing.
The who what?
ADI, it's an accreditation that, for example, Joys of Living assistance dogs. So they have that accreditation.
Okay. Councilor Starr, Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. There are several different accreditation in service dog. There's several different companies that do that. So just listing one, I'm not sure would be the right thing to do. But there have been lots of times when our children were attending Clear Lake Elementary School that we would take our Border Collie over to Clear Lake, and we would take the tennis ball and the big long throwing arm, and the dog would just have a great time while we were waiting for the kids to get out of school. And I would hate to take that away from someone, the ability to do that, because some of those dogs really need to run.
Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just kind of agree that I'm looking at this the same way as Councilor Reed is. Yes, it's sad. It's sad that we have to pay for police and have laws, but we have to give them tools. So I see this as a tool. I don't see this as a smackdown.
So, for me, I've been out walking my dog, in my neighborhood, and I've had dogs come up and, attack or attempt to with my Dalmatian. That was a really bad choice on the part of the other dog, just because I had a Dalmatian, and that is in their nature. Having people keep their dog on leash as they're going from place to place makes a lot of sense to me, and I will be very supportive of having that requirement. Running at the schools, that's why I asked the questions about jurisdiction. We've also had incidents, very positive, with the training and the dogs running to the school. We've also had very negative, where there have been, children either terrified or actually knocked down or bitten. So that has happened as well in those spaces. So I think that we have to achieve a balance here. We have to have some sort of tool where that dog owner, has at the very least underestimated the control of their dog and know there are consequences. Don't want to take that ability to run the dog in that open space, but we've had too many time periods where people think much more highly of their dog control abilities than that dog actually does. So I think we need this tool. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You talked about consequences. What would the consequences be? And then follow up on that, Chief Teague, what would you like to see so that you and your officers can do the best job that you can in Keizer?
Well, that's easy, Councilor Kohler. I agree with Councilor Reed that it'd be nice to see people act neighborly and we wouldn't have this thing sitting before us. So that's an easy answer, but the solution, I don't know. I know my guys don't want to be the leash police. They'll do whatever the council wants us to do. It frankly is, it's a problem every now and again. It isn't, but people without dogs on lead occurs every day throughout this city. And we go years between problems. But the problems, they exist and we don't have a tool for those. And so I guess it's up to the council to decide, whether we're gonna address the problem that occurs now and again and deal with the rest. I don't envy your position. I'm sorry for that ambivalent answer.
Well, can I follow up again? Chief Teague, if this was passed today in its current form, would you see your officers only using that when there is a problem and having somebody with a motor going down the street and somebody saying, oh, look, there's a dog off leash, and go ticket the owner? And then what would the ticket be? How do we enforce that? And what would the consequences be? Mayor Clark talked about the consequences. What are those?
Yeah, Mayor Clark, Councilor Kohler, I don't know we have a current form that I can speak to, but certainly we'll be involved in the development of the ordinance that we'll present to you. And
I might add that when a dog and their owner begin to receive citations and so forth, then you start to have some say with animal control about whether that dog is considered dangerous, or if we start having issues, that dog be considered at large, and that's not permitted, and there may be additional steps that are on a civil level that the individuals could take, knowing that somebody's been cited multiple times for letting their dog run loose. So I'm hoping that will equip people in the community to have some tools available, as well as just our police, saying you have violated, there is a law against this, and I've been accosted by your dog, and be able to have some recourse as well for reporting. We've got to have tools. Because when I've been accosted or attacked, there was nothing I could do about it, not a whole heck of a lot. And I knew better than let my dog off, because that dog was, as I said, it was a Dalmatian. Very, very protective. I'm going to go to City Attorney, then Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to Councilor Kohler's second question about consequences, I would anticipate that we'll bring back a draft ordinance with blanks for minimum, maximum, presumptive fines in municipal court. I think council should be prepared to probably not actually adopt the draft unless it's perfect. So we may be bringing back a draft for discussion purposes, and then you folks can kind of massage that as you see fit and then finalize it.
Right. Further discussion? Oh, I was going to go to Counselor Cross and then Youth Counselor.
Well, actually, I just have a question because I wasn't involved in the work study, and I love dogs. Like, I love them all. Yeah. Again, we just want tools. So I would probably like to see something like maybe the Keizer Times would be like, help us have a tool for the naughty ones. Just like wear seatbelt law when that came around, click it or ticket. So I would just like to see more information on that, even if we invite somebody to speak on that.
Educational, informational campaign as well. Yeah.
I don't think it has to be passed next time. I think that this is something that we can take feedback on and make sure that we're listening and doing our due diligence.
And yeah, being an ordinance, this will definitely come back and we'll have public comment. So, yes, I'm going to go to Youth Counselor and then Counselor Reed.
Maybe it's because I'm really young or I don't have a dog, but I don't think this is that big of an issue. I think there should be a decision today. And not only for the safety of the people in case there is an untrained dog that is rabid or something, but also for the safety of the dog so it doesn't run on the street and get hit by a car. So you have to take into account both of the victim or the potential victim and then the actual dog and their safety into account. So that is just what I would like to say.
Point well taken. Counselor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was curious about the county laws, and so I have brought up the county code, which is 6.05.050. And may I read that?
Please do.
Okay, so again, this is the county laws. So it states that the keeper of a dog commits a civil infraction if the keeper's dog or dogs commits any of the following acts. Number 1, runs at large. Number 2, disturbs a person by prolonged or frequent noise, scatters garbage, trespasses on private property of others, damages or destroys property of others, chases vehicles on the roadway, female in heat at large, is a potentially dangerous dog, or is a dangerous dog. So, and then there's a little bit more information. That's kind of the synopsis of that. And then it has a little bit of who to call, and that seems to be mostly related to barking dog complaints, and it has our police number on there for Keizer. It has Keizer, Salem, Silverton, Woodburn. So that is what the county law already states, and so just so you know.
Right. And it does not require a leash.
Well, it says runs at large, so the flip side of that is requires a leash.
But apparently at large is a little bit different than just being off leash, if I remember correctly from a previous conversation.
Yes, Madam Mayor. In fact, the dog not being in control such that it runs out into traffic would be at large.
Right.
So there's already rules in place to govern things like that.
Rules that, but no leash requirement.
No leash requirement.
Right, and this would change that. Okay. Anything further on what we would like this ordinance to include? So to summarize, we've talked about clarifying that, oh gosh, okay, brain, go back. Yeah, okay, help me with, so we talked,
While you're thinking, can I ask something?
yeah, sure, ask another question while I see if I can circle my brain back. Catch what we
So
talked
I've
about.
had neighbors that have complained to me a lot about another neighbor's cat coming into the yard. Where do you start and stop this? And how do you legislate common sense?
Can't, that's why we're having this conversation.
I am not going to talk about cats tonight.
Chickens, perhaps.
We're talking about dogs. We are going to be very species specific here. Canidae, canines. I don't want to talk about felines tonight. We can have a separate conversation on felines. So with that, anything else that you need direction from us on what we would like included in the ordinance? Because I know you've been taking notes, Mr. Johnson?
Well, my understanding generally was, the motion was, we do have a motion on the floor, correct?
We do have a motion on
So
the
we have
floor
a
to
motion
bring
on
back
the
an
floor to
ordinance.
have
Yes.
animals generally on leash. We will address the service animal question. We will address the property of others with permission
That was it.
issue.
Yep.
And maybe a few others. And we'll bring it back for council
And then
consideration.
and then something about the school property, making
Yeah.
sure we're clear on that. Thank you, those were the things, and that was the one I was trying to remember, is other people's private property with permission of property owners. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no.
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 Motion passes 5-2. The noes are Kohler and Duran. Okay. We're taking a 5-minute break. And the time is 9:15. We're taking a 5-minute break. I'd like to call City Keizer, good grief. City Council, back into order. Apparently I'm not orderly. Take a break and I lose train. All right, let's go to item 8F, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to initiate an application to the Standard Insurance Company and Paid Leave Oregon for the purpose of approval for offer paid leave benefits through an equivalent plan. Ms. DePina.
Is that a mouthful or what?
Yes, it is. It's a lot of words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. In our proposed, the summary of the topic is we are requesting the council's support in submitting an application to the Oregon Employment Department for the Paid Leave Oregon program to use one of our current vendors, the Standard Insurance Company, as an equivalent plan for the provision of Paid Leave Oregon benefits to city employees. Based on the information currently available, we believe it would be in the best interest of both the city and our employees to take this course of action for the initial phases of Paid Leave Oregon implementation. It may be that down the road, we would recommend shifting to the state's plan, but right now that is not something that we would recommend the city do. As recently as just this Sunday, after we put together this material and to submit to you, there was, actually on Thursday, there was a vote to allow further delays in the state's paid leave program. And so that will give the authority to delay the launch if it determines by August 11th that the trust fund isn't solvent. And they may delay it until December, and then they can potentially delay every 3 months until the agency decides the fund is solvent. So that puts into further question exactly when Paid Leave Oregon might get implemented. When I talked to our benefit advisors today about that subject, they said they still believe that the state will move forward with implementation in September, but it clearly is possible that there will be further delays. So just adding that little bit of spice to the report. At any rate, going back to the information that we have available, paid leave, the Family Medical Leave Act was adopted in 2019 with the implementation starting January 1st. That implementation was the beginning of payments to get prepared for Paid Leave Oregon to go into, to be available to employees as of September. So basically it was funding the program to get it started up. It is also, I'm sorry, on August 19th is when city employees were notified that there would be a tax on their pay stubs beginning January 1st, and it was a 1% split. Similar to Medicare, with the employee responsible for 0.6% and the employer for 0.4%. So we have been collecting those funds since January 1st, and we're just holding them in a separate account. It's expected most employers are going to choose Paid Leave Oregon for implementation, but it also is the plan allows for employers to run their own plan to be self-insured or to utilize a state-approved third-party carrier that's fully insured. When I went out to assess what my cohorts are doing in other cities and counties around the state, I got a mix of responses that were all over the board, and a handful, a very small handful, were planning to do their own internal plan and run the program themselves. That is not something that most labor attorneys recommend because you have full liability for everything. There were a larger number that were looking at third-party providers such as Standard Insurance to run the program for them, primarily because they were concerned about how effectively the state would be able to ramp up and launch such a program, and also in looking to our cohorts in Washington State who have experience with a program having been in place for about 2 years now. And knowing that in their experience on a program that is formatted similar to ours, after the very first year, the rates went up for both the state and for the employees. So they're expecting that very likely the same thing could happen here. When I talk to my cohorts, one of the reasons for not going with a third party is the price is a little bit higher. They're making a little bit more money than what is currently being charged by the employment department. However, the difference is with a third party, you don't have to start making payments to that party until the benefits are actually available to the employees. So there's no ramp-up period. So that means that all the funds that we collect from January until whenever we would start with a third party could eventually be returned and not actually charged. So that is a definite savings. So to us, it meant that if we go with a third party for at least the first year or two, we're going to be in a better position because we'll provide better service to our employees. We'll actually save money during that time period, even though the rate is a little higher. And we can make a decision after the program is rolled out with the state to decide, once they've got everything in place, do we then want to shift over to the state program? And we can make that change on a yearly basis without any penalties.
Oh, that's good to know.
That is good. So at this point, we have a deadline of the end of May to submit an application to the employment department. We've already notified them of our intent, which we had to do in February, but we didn't have to make a confirmed application. So we have until the end of May to submit that, and then the employment department has to approve it. Standard Insurance was the very first third-party entity to receive approval from the employment department, so they've already been fully vested and confirmed as an appropriate provider. They also are our long-term disability and term life insurance carrier right now. In talking with our insurance provider or our insurance consultants, one of the things I learned is that in order to go with any other equivalent plan, you pretty much have to run your other business through them too, because you have to have 2 or 3 plans with the provider for them to do this for you. So it's not like we could go out to a different provider just for Paid Leave Oregon and still keep standard for the other 2 lines of insurance. So that was an important component. They are also the one that had the lowest rate of the 3 or 4 providers that have been approved so far. And we have good experience with them as far as their customer service with our employees. So what else? The initial cost of the program, like I said, through Standard is a tad higher. It's 1.15%. And the employee would still have the same 0.6% cost to them. The city would cover the remaining 0.55%. And then the idea of the savings amount, you can see in the material, would be a total savings of $47,800 this year and another $4,200 next year. So if we stayed with Standard after next year, our cost would be higher because the overall cost is higher. But that's only if the state doesn't increase their rates after their first year of operation, which is also a possibility. So at this point, we have a timing issue that it's critical that we are able to move forward to meet the state's end of the month deadline. And we have 2 alternatives on the table, adopting the resolution in front of you or directing the city to utilize the state's plan. And our recommendation is that you adopt the resolution authorizing the city manager to initiate an application to the Standard Insurance Company and Paid Leave Oregon to approve to offer paid leave benefits through an equivalent plan. And I'm available for questions.
All right, thank you very much. Questions, Councilor Husband?
Ms. DePina, thank you so much for walking through that and walking through it as you see it. Do you mind sharing some insight into what it is that the Standard is offering that may be above and beyond their traditional offerings that the city of Keizer has used? Or what is it that the standard is doing with this paid leave act as we know it, that that they're administering as some differentiation in their service?
I would say probably the benefit is they're not differentiating how they're providing service just by providing paid leave Oregon to us. Their commitment is that we'll get the same customer service and attention to our employees as we get through those other two plans. The difference there being that we have more of an opportunity to contact Standard and let them know there's an issue or work through something, whereas through the state, we simply would have to tell the employees, contact the state. We wouldn't have any real impact on that, just as we don't with employment department, like unemployment insurance.
Yeah, thank you. So they don't necessarily view Oregon paid leave as necessitating any excessive or different method of administering their service benefits. They see it that they can group it all under their similar practices, just different bucket of.
Exactly.
Okay.
One of the huge benefits of using an existing insurance program is they're used to doing this work. And so they're not designing something from the ground up in that respect. Obviously, they haven't provided paid leave Oregon insurance before, but they're following the same protocols and guidelines that they do with their existing lines.
Understood. And hey, if they knew something that the rest of us didn't, it would be good to know. So
exactly.
Hey, I appreciate you clarifying that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions on the proposal or the staff report? Council President Starr.
I move the City Council adopt Resolution R2023, authorizing the city manager to initiate an application to the Standard Insurance Company and Paid Leave Oregon for the purpose of approval to offer paid leave benefits through an equivalent plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, authorizing the city manager to initiate an application to the Standard Insurance Company and Paid Leave Oregon for the purpose of approval of offer paid leave benefits through an equivalent plan. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to tonight's consent calendar, and thank you very much to Ms. DePina. Great work. Tonight's consent calendar, Council President Starr, would you please read the items?
Consent calendar, item 9A, approval of April 10th, 2023 work session minutes and approval of April 17th, 2023 regular session minutes.
Thank you very much. Are there any polls?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item A.
All right. And let's motion for B.
Okay. I move to adopt a consent calendar, item 9B, approval of April 17th, 2023 regular session minutes.
Second.
Consent calendar 9B has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. 9A, Councilor President Starr.
I move to approval of April 10th, 2023 work session minutes.
Second.
I'm wondering why they were pulled.
Oh, because I'm recusing myself.
Oh, you're going to vote. Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to make the motion then?
No, she can make
I
it.
can make
Okay.
it.
I just didn't know why she'd pulled it.
Right, I wasn't here.
Okay, gotcha. 9A has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Abstentions?
Abstention.
Motion passes with 6 aye and abstention by Council President Starr. That concludes the consent calendar. Other business, this time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. I believe we have an item from Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. As I indicated in the voicemail and the item on the dais, we have a item for walk-on tonight. My apologies on that. I got word from outside counsel, but they had indicated that they didn't think it would need to come this meeting, and then I found out it did. So, and I forgot to put that in the email. Obviously, we're walking it on because decision to move forward with this is before the next council meeting. So for the audience's sake, an issue's come up with a recent Court of Appeals case, and I won't belabor it too much, but essentially for civil forfeitures in which the city or any city or county can initiate a forfeiture proceeding, which is civil in nature, not criminal, to forfeit to the jurisdiction instrumentalities and proceeds, cars, houses, cash, from illegal activity, typically drug activity. The city has a major case going right now on that. This particular Court of Appeals case made a major decision indicating that such proceedings, although labeled as civil several places, is really criminal in nature and therefore subject to the double jeopardy clause of the U.S. Constitution. You're trying them twice is their position. And I won't get into the vagaries of the particular case. It was kind of an unfortunate case. The recommendation from staff is to join in an amicus brief. I just confirmed today that Salem is joining. So at a minimum, it would be Medford, Salem, and Keizer. There's some indication that 2 other cities may join also. The recommendation is to move forward to adopt the resolution that's in front of you that directs me to move forward with the amicus brief. The estimated attorney fees total would be $5,000, which is pretty reasonable, and that would be split among the jurisdictions that would be joining as amicus. If the council wants to move forward with this, the appropriate motion first is a motion to suspend the rules since it's not on the agenda. And if that motion is successful, the recommendation is to adopt the resolution in front of you. And so with that, I will answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Quick question. What is the dollar amount, like average, that those silver forfeitures are a year?
Oh.
For the city of Keizer?
We don't have an average amount.
Like, is it 50,000 to 500?
Sorry to laugh at Councilor Cross. Up until this last case, frankly, over the years, we've had a few. A lot of them go to DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, and those are the larger ones, but we're not in that group anymore, as I understand it. So back to your question, the ones that the city has done have, up till this point, been fairly nominal. Although there was some discussion on 2 or 3 houses, we ended up not forfeiting those. We're talking about cars and maybe a few $1,000s in cash. The current one, and the reason for my laughing is it would throw the average way off, because the current case that we have pending is 3 houses, 6 cars, and $280,000 in cash. So part of that, we've reached partial settlement on some of those cases. So sorry for the long answer.
All right, let's put a motion on the table to suspend the rules. Council President Starr.
I move to suspend the council rules to address the walk-on item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the council suspend the rules to take up the walk-on item. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Council President Starr, there's been a motion on the table.
I move the City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, directing City Attorney to take action to have City of Keizer join in an amicus brief in Yamhill County versus real property commonly known as 11475 Northwest Pike Road et al. Case.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, directing City Attorney to take action to have City of Keizer join in an amicus brief in Yamhill County v. real property commonly known as 11475 Northwest Pike Road et al. Case. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, is there any other business from staff for this evening?
No other business.
Okay, thank you. City Council, any other business that anyone wants to bring up tonight? Okay, let's go to staff updates. Mr. Pina?
I'm sorry, no updates tonight, thank you.
Oh, I think there's one about city manager, city attorney evaluation time.
Oh, you want me to say that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. As you are all aware, the performance evaluation forms and information came out to you recently, and the deadline for completion is Sunday. And we already have 2 people who've completed all theirs, so thank you very much.
All right. And don't make us nag anybody. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Was there any update on any of the interviews or such that we've had recently? Do you have candidates that are progressing on to additional interviews?
We have finalists being interviewed this week for city recorder. And we should have recruitments posted this week for chief of police and deputy city recorder.
No small lift. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Brown?
Just a couple items, Madam Mayor and Council. Wanted to let you know that we will be scheduling a presentation by our Wysealy Fellows before they leave. And we'll get that date out to you and invite any of the community members that want to come learn about their country, what they do back in their country, and their experience here in the U.S. So we'll get that date out to you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Looking forward to that. Mr. Wood?
Just a reminder in case you forgot, budget meetings Monday night and Tuesday night. Budgets are distributed. If you'd like a hard copy, if you haven't gotten one already, please come see me. Also, we are going to be providing food for the meeting, so make sure to get your dinner order in. That's it, and thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Reading pleasure this weekend, the city budget. Ms. Davis?
Thank you, but I have nothing tonight.
All right, thank you. Chief?
Nothing.
Mr. Witham?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Nothing tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Council member reports. Councilor Duran? Or I'm sorry, Councilor Cross.
I went on vacation. It was nice. There was sun, and I attended the Haley's Heroes luncheon today at the convention center regarding Batten disease for a fundraiser for a child that passed away in West Salem. And it was nice to see Tracy there, and I learned she was on the board.
Wonderful. Well, welcome back. Clearly, you saw sunshine that we haven't, which is awesome. Well, I'm going to be going to Arizona. I'm hoping to catch up a little bit. Councilor Duran.
Well, I usually have nothing, but I am actually going to have something tonight.
Write that down.
Let's see, Councilor Duran is updating us tonight.
So Wednesday the 19th, I went to the GAC for somebody who was not here. Yeah, and had me substitute. And we saw candidates for the school board. So that was informative, and I've seen them a couple different times now. Thursday of that week, the 20th, I went to the CASA Light of Hope event, and it was interesting with who they had, Jimmy Wayne, and that was neat. So seeing some of the fundraiser stuff that goes on is definitely interesting and enjoyable. So Monday, this is just a little shout out to myself, but Monday the 24th was Remodeling by Classic Homes 20th anniversary.
Oh, yay!
Tuesday the 25th, I went to the greeters ribbon cutting ceremony for Puro Clean Restoration Services. That's a new business here in town. And then the last one is Friday. I went with most everybody here to Chief Ryan Russell's swearing-in ceremony. And that is neat to see some new blood in the, I guess, fire department, leadership. I'm drawing blank here. So that was my last 2 weeks.
All right, thank you very much. Council President Starr.
Sure, thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended the Casa of Marion County event as well. It was nice to see Councilor Duran in attendance. I then attended the community dinner, and last week, I had the joy, the privilege, and the honor of participating in Take Your Child to Work Day, although I didn't take my child to work, but I got to take little Miss Charlotte Bauer to work with me, and she was interviewed for the very first time in her life, she said, and about her lemonade stand that she's had the past 2 days. And she proudly announced that she wanted to take my job. So it was just a fun day with her. And we ended it with ice cream. So everybody should want to come to work with me for a day. And then Friday, I attended, along with a majority of the council, swearing in of Chief Ryan Russell at Keizer Fire District. And I just want to remind people that on Thursday of this week at 7 p.m. is the Neighborhood Watch information session here with the Keizer Police Department. And I would encourage everyone to come and learn how they can start that.
And get ready for a party on National Night Out, right?
That's right.
Fantastic. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of things. I'll try to remember what former Council President Smith said, keep it simple, stupid, but I mean, just the Northwest Keizer Neighborhood Association was 419. We had the principal from Keizer Elementary there. It was very interesting. We had a great meeting, did a lot of great things. They are going to be coming to the council on 6/5 to report their annual report. So 420, I went to the hospital volunteer recognition dinner. It was very interesting and a lot of fun. It's amazing to see the number of volunteers that it takes to run the hospital. It's kind of daunting when you take a look at it. It's just pretty cool to be a small part of that. Of course, the McNary Culinary Department did the Keizer Community Dinner on the 26th. We had about 250 people there, and it was really good. So a lot of fun. Of course, Ryan Russell swearing in, it was neat to see, and I told Ryan afterward, Chief Russell afterwards, that it reminded me when his son, or when he was pinning his Eagle badge on his son, as his son was one of my scouts. And then speaking of scouts, the Eagle Flight dinner, or the Eagle recognition, was also that evening I attended with Mayor Clark. So Keizer United Board meeting was this morning, which I attended. And then coming up, we'll have Clyde Creek Watershed Council on the 3rd, McNary Music Concert, which I will let Youth Councilor talk about. And then the 4th is the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, which I'm looking forward to. And also the Seabell meeting, the hospital chapel dedication that I get to take part of, and the Keizer Community Diversity Engagement Committee also that night, as is the Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association. So Thursday is going to be kind of busy for me. And I got some
Be with you.
some budget thing coming up next week. So, but no, it was. Somebody asked me this week why anybody would ever be a city councilor. And I had to think about it a little bit, but my answer really was this: there are days that it's really challenging, but there are days it's really wonderful to see all the neat and wonderful things that happen in Keizer. So there you go.
Indeed. Councilor Houseman.
Okay, we did get the official date and times for the Youth Bike Skills Clinic. That will be June 10th, 1 to 3 p.m. in the City Hall parking lot. So just out there. Thank you to Hirsch Sangster for bringing it up. Any kid and possibly kid at heart, all skills and abilities, come on out. It will be an educational and instructive time. And beyond that, thanks to Jamie Davis for coming and giving the big TSBP update. There was an awful lot in the last meeting, going in a good direction once again.
Thank you very much.
May I add one thing?
Councilor Kohler? Oh, yes.
We have some pretty awesome t-shirts that are available right now. It talks about the 40th birthday party for the city. Those that attended city council meeting tonight received one. And so look forward to doing this. If you need to have we have blue ones and we have gray ones. So come on down and we'll talk about getting you a t-shirt. And so lots of great things going on. I even talked to a window painter today.
Okay. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple things. The Keizer Homegrown Theater is opening up Doll's House Part 2 this weekend, and that will run through May 5th through the 21st. So that will be a great play. I actually saw that play on Broadway, and it's a fascinating sequel to Ibsen's Dollhouse, and it's very interesting. So looking forward to that. See their website for tickets. And then I guess, are we calling us Genekna now? It's Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association. We'll be Genekna. That's kind of a fun thing to say. Anyway, we had our monthly meeting with the three of us, Tammy and Jackie and I. And however, they have reported up to 24 people, I think, on the Zoom meeting or the electronic meeting that the neighbors are involved with, and so they've been doing that. And so we had talked about perhaps making that the norm rather than trying to do the in-person thing with such little attendance. So looking forward to innovating and seeing how that neighborhood association model can perhaps change. And so thank you for leading the charge on that, and thank you for all you do with those efforts. So that's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Love the innovation. Youth Councilor Sarmiento.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to talk about all the meets we have this week, but I decided to keep it short and sweet. So today we have the Avid Senior Night, where all our McNary Avid seniors graduated. I had just gotten back from attending that. It was from 4:30 to 8. On Wednesday, we have the Celebration of Music, which includes the Advanced Band, the Wind Ensemble, Advanced Symphony, Orchestra, and Choir. And tickets are available online. It starts at 7 p.m. On Friday, we have the track and field team at Garden City Relays. And I wish luck to all my fellow classmates that are taking the AP exams this week. I think today was AP Government, and they follow for the next few weeks. And recently I started an internship with the Keizer Community Library, and I'm very excited for that. I start, I think, this Saturday. And I was also hoping to ask a favor of the counselors or Mayor Clark. On May 17th at 6:30, there is the NHS inauguration, and I was hoping for one of you to come and be a speaker for the new National Honor Society members, if you guys are interested or available.
17th?
Yes, 17th.
Let me check my calendar. I was a member of National Honor Society.
Really?
Yep. Let me double check on that.
I was a member of the National Honor Society.
I'm going to leave that one there.
17th.
So,
At 7?
I think we all are.
yes.
The 17th, just to clarify, at
That's a yes.
6:30.
At 6:30.
Send me, if you would send me an email, please.
Yes, our youth liaison for the planning committee, Amanpreet Sandhu, will reach out to you, but I will tell her that you are available.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got to do that. I think it was the last time that was held was before COVID, and I was able to attend.
Yes.
Did you-
Last year
did-
there was also an inauguration.
Okay.
Did you play at an orchestra thing over the weekend?
No.
You didn't go to
I'm trying
Newport?
to remember, sorry.
You didn't go to Newport and played?
Oh, sorry. That was last week, yes. The Chamber Orchestra went to Newport last week, where we played at an orchestra festival. It was very fun. It was very exciting. There were also high schools from Bend, Astoria, and there was another one. I don't remember the other one. My bad. Oh, and North Salem High School.
All right, fantastic. Just a couple of things to wrap up tonight. A few weeks ago, I asked for and you approved a letter of support for House Bill 2095 for photo radar and speed limits that has passed the legislature and is on the governor's desk for signature. So thank you all for that, and great work on the part of the League of Oregon Cities for helping move that bill through the process. So look forward to that coming to us. On April 19th, I was able to tour the Soaring Heights Oriole House. I was invited by the folks who operate that for Soaring Heights and met some of the women who are living there. It's a transitional home, one of the many throughout Keizer that are embedded in our neighborhoods, where men and women are able to live in our community to, as they're working through either treatment or their, whatever programs they're in, as they're moving and leaving homelessness and other situations toward permanent housing and oftentimes independent living. So very excited to meet the ladies who live there. On the 24th and 25th and 26th, I attended the League of Oregon Cities Spring Conference in Seaside along with our city manager. The mayor's workshop was on civility both in community but also in civic engagement. There was a professor from George Fox University who was a presenter there and brought some very interesting conversations for those of us in the mayor's service throughout the state, including Mayor Wheeler, by the way, who was there. That was a bit of a surprise. He hasn't been at too many of the mayor's, the OMA events. The next day was, or actually on the 25th, was the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study, SCATS. We have 3 items that are going to be on the agenda for adoption in May. Will be the 23-24 Unified Planning and Work Program, which is an annual thing. Big one here is the 2023-2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And if you think we're not looking at it again till 2050, no, this is revised every 4 years. So it's a long look, but the goalposts change every 4 years. That said, it is a comprehensive look, and public testimony is being, or public comment is being accepted through the May meeting. Ditto with the Transportation Improvement Program for 24 to 29 that has the projects that will be funded in our region for that 4-year time period. I attended a CBEL, which is the Community Business and Education Leaders workshop that was conducted by Pastor Ronnie Brooks, called Where Do We Go From Here? It was a great conversation about community engagement throughout the Salem-Keizer area. Coming up, we've got the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance Executive Committee, and thank you, Councilor Reed, for covering for as much as possible tomorrow. I do want to celebrate the opening of the Salem Navigation Center. This happened on April 24th for the ribbon cutting, and the governor was there to celebrate with us on opening this center, which has been in the works for about 5 years. So an overnight success takes years of planning. This has changed over time as the Homeless Alliance has broadened and deepened our ability to provide services for people. So it's very comprehensive, trauma-informed care to get people from being houseless and unsheltered, and where they can be engaging for services, for sanitation, for security, and for their futures. A lot of self-directed support there as well. So congratulations, City of Salem and the entire team of partners that work to make that a reality. And it will open this month to receive people and clients that will be using this navigation center. Very, very exciting development for the Salem-Keizer area. On Wednesday, I will be meeting with, along with Mayor Hoy, the new superintendent, Superintendent Castaneda. So she's going to have a meet and greet, and then she's going to have a time to talk with community leaders such as the Salem mayor and myself. And then I am going to go to the music night at the Elsinore for McNary. So thank you for that invitation. On Thursday, I will be going to Weddell Elementary to honor the 24 challenge winners from that school. I am so excited to be there, invited by the principal and students there to celebrate the achievement of these, of the students there in the 24 challenge. The lifelong benefits of being mental math skills and logic will stay with them forever. It's a fantastic program. And last but not least, on the 11th will be the Latino Action Committee scholarship presentations right here at City Hall. And there's other stuff coming up, but those are the highlights. So that's
11th, you
what I
say?
have. That's on the 11th. Yep. I think it's at 6. Oh, what time? Turn page.
Last year it was 6.
I think you're right.
Down because I talked to Pastor Dominguez.
It is 6. Okay, so be here to celebrate with the recipients of the scholarships. Okay, agenda input on May 8th and 9th. We'll be here as Budget Committee, starting at 6 p.m. both evenings. Come early if you want to have some supper before the meeting. And place your orders. Tracy, thank you for sending that out to us. On May 15th, we'll meet here at 7 p.m. in regular session, and on June 5th, 7 p.m. in regular session. That is all I have. Is there anything else for the good of the order? The time is 10:07 and we are adjourned.